Okay, guys, my next guest, Allison McConoghy, built Pinterest's automotive ads team from scratch. And over the last 9 years, she's worked with tier one, tier two. Now she's really focused on dealerships and empowering them through agencies. She's the one from Detroit. She's got automotive chops. She's behind all of the case studies that Pinterest and dealerships are putting out right now that prove that Pinterest can move metal, they can sell trucks, not just plan weddings and remodel kitchens. Enjoy this conversation. Well, Allison, you've been with Pinterest for nearly a decade, which kudos for the loyalty, and working in automotive. And could you quickly give us like a quick background with your auto chops as well as your platform marketing chops?
Sure. So I've been working in automotive since 2012. I started working in auto at Pandora Radio on the sales team. So building up the tier one business for FCA at the time and GM primarily. I was there for almost 6 years and transitioned roles several times, ultimately ending up in a audience data role, which was really interesting, helping kind of bridge the gap between third-party data providers and the OEMs. From there, I came over to Pinterest, where I've been for almost 9 years. So when I started, I was employee number 3 in the Detroit office. And so we were just trying to stand up the business. So focused on tier one, primarily with GM and Ford. And over several years, we were able to build up a really healthy tier one business. And then we branched into tier two. I really got to kind of build out my expertise with GM on their tier two program, which was really exciting. And then ultimately, once you build up enough success in business, the question comes like, well, what can you do for our dealers? So in 2020, I spun off to stand up our dealer business, and I've been working on it ever since.
It's a tough thing to scale. Like I've seen several platforms try to scale across because there's 18,000 franchise dealers and countless independent dealers. So I imagine a lot of that time is spent like empowering agencies and marketers. And is that where a lot of the energy is spent, or is it also directly with dealers or dealer groups?
Great question. Primarily with agency partners. So to your point, scale is always a challenge. So we have to maximize our ability to get in front of as many dealers as possible. So that's typically through their agency partners. So we've built out a great agency program with several different partnership tiers, based on investment and partnership over time. But in addition, we do have dealer groups that we're super close with that we get in front of whenever they need us. And we also leverage our tier one relationships to get in front of their retail teams, right? Because they have a vested interest in ensuring that their dealers are successful in their markets, that they're pushing, the best ideas out there and partnering with the best partners. And so we're able to kind of work that angle as well, which is a really healthy way to approach the business.
Right. And get it from the top down where they can help evangelize and talk about best practices and find excuses for dealers to get started.
Yes, absolutely.
So in the 10 years that you've been doing auto with Pinterest, how do you feel like dealers have kind of shifted their mindset around the platform?
Yes, great question. So when we started to stand up this business in 2020, it was obviously challenging for so many reasons. But focusing on the Pinterest challenge, we got a lot of pushback saying, well, isn't Pinterest just a platform for women and women who are planning their weddings or their nurseries? And we had to kind of push back against that and say, yes, there are a lot of women on Pinterest, but you should care because women power 80% of car buying decisions. So please don't dismiss that very powerful audience. And then in addition, these women and men are on Pinterest planning for life events. And so why does that matter to a dealer? Because when people are cycling through life moments like getting married or having a baby, they're 2.5 times more likely to be in market for a new vehicle within the next 12 months. So it gives dealers this beautiful opportunity to get in front of the consumer before they might even be in market or realize that they're going to need a new vehicle. But this massive life change that they're going through is going to spur that need for a new vehicle.
And what really opened my eyes to Pinterest advertising as a man, I'm a man. I don't know if
Yes.
you can tell, but was I did a landscaping job at my house. And while I was, working with the landscapers and looking at options, that I was building out a Pinterest board,
Yep.
and all the ads were so relevant with flagstones and with landscape lighting, and it really pulled me in, and it started impacting my decisions and the products that I was buying. And then as we're like starting to test it out more and more and more with dealerships that we're working with for social advertising, what I love most is the lack of noise. It's such a clean environment to advertise in because there's not every single dealership in there running the exact same ads. It's an opportunity for us to get in front of a niche audience, seeing a life event that's coming up. They're having a child, they're getting married, things like that, to get out in front of them. Is this a part of the big value proposition that you guys are introducing to dealers?
Absolutely. So Pinterest is a little bit different than other social platforms because traditional social platforms connect people to people, and that's incredibly powerful. But what's equally powerful is a platform that connects people to ideas, and that's what Pinterest does. And so because of that shift and where we sit within the ecosystem, it does create this open space for dealers to really kind of put the stake in the ground in terms of their geographic area. And there's a lot of opportunity for them to get in front of this high intent audience that is affluent and can actually afford their vehicles.
Yeah. And make decisions and start making actions towards starting a conversation with the dealership. And that's making me think about um, an issue that we've come across a lot is dealers being really predisposed and taught to look at Google Analytics as the proxy for any digital marketing success. And so they're looking to us as a marketing agency to make this KPI hit. And that's a lot of times just like a VDP view,
Yep.
which is pretty easy to trick and just flow a lot of really unqualified traffic to VDPs and call that a win for the agency. But what we see is it just commoditizes the dealership, and it drives a bunch of bad traffic, and the retargeting audiences are not applying very well. Uh, and so there's kind of like this education process that I think that happens with a lot of dealerships about keeping people on the platform versus trying to cram them through your website, cram them through your credit apps. How is that conversation going with you? Does that come up a lot where dealerships are wanting to look at Google Analytics and agencies are talking about volume of traffic and time on site and stuff like that?
Yes. Yeah. It comes up all the time. And so we really take kind of an educational perspective on measurement. So Google Analytics really heavily weighs last click, which is not going to showcase the power of Pinterest, right? Pinterest is an earlier touch platform, and it's a platform that people continuously come back to, especially when they're planning something like a new car purchase. They're saving ideas around their next vehicle onto things like boards, and then they're coming back to that board to refine that consideration set. And then from there, they're going to the dealer site and then ultimately purchasing. So if you're only measuring last click, you're going to lose out on all of that great behavior that Pinterest generated for you. So we encourage our agency partners really always to install the Pinterest tag at a bare minimum, right? We need to see what's happening post-click on the dealer site. But in addition, we really encourage them to upload the sales data every single month to the dealer's ad account to match back to ad exposure. And we find that the agency partners that do that have a very strong story to tell about a very efficient cost per vehicle sold and the number of sales that Pinterest influenced during that month.
Okay, that gives me like two questions.
Yeah.
One is like with the attribution, you're able to look at you put the Pinterest pixel on the website, set it up to measure conversions with meaningful things for the dealer, not VDP views, but trade-in appraisals, credit apps, lead gen, phone calls, stuff like that. And it sounds like you're able to do the match back to people being exposed to the ad at least, even
Yes.
if they didn't jump through all of the hoops, which a lot of people don't. What does that look back look like? Is it a 30-day or
Yes.
seven
So
day?
we need the sold list uploaded within 30 days of the end of the campaign, but you can adjust the look back window up to 90 days, which we always recommend because, again, Pinterest is an earlier touch platform. But many of our agency partners maintain a 30-30 attribution window just to have parity across partners. And even within that tighter window, Pinterest tends to be a top performer.
It's a good time. Uh, and then so you came to NADA, right? You did a presentation I heard was super well attended. I wish I had been more on top of my schedule. I would have checked it out. But you were talking about how Pinterest people or pinners that were exposed to more of a full funnel campaign on Pinterest converted 2 times higher than what? What was the presentation about?
Yes. Yep. So our strategy for dealers is always to have a full funnel strategy active on Pinterest. So that's going to include an awareness campaign. The awareness campaign is really going to highlight the why buys for your dealership and to set you apart within the market in which you operate. From there, our mid funnel strategy is going to be either a consideration or conversion campaign. That's where we're really layering in offer and incentive messaging. And then finally, our lowest funnel is our shopping campaigns. So those are feed based. So you're just syndicating your inventory onto Pinterest directly. That feed automatically updates every 24 hours to ensure that the vehicle that is on your lot is being advertised. And when it sells today, it's not there tomorrow. So we have found that when dealers have that full funnel strategy active, they do see 2 times the conversion behavior than a single strategy alone. And that's been proven out not only within the automotive vertical, but broader at Pinterest. And it really just speaks to that earlier touch planning mindset that our consumers have. So we want to make sure that our dealers are capturing that full opportunity versus just syndicating their inventory on our platform.
Which is kind of the crux, and in my experience, a way that a marketing firm or like an internal marketing agency within a dealership or within anyone can separate themselves from other providers. Because
Absolutely.
the setting up the inventory feed, letting it run, having evergreen campaigns drives VDP traffic, and it's easy. It should be easy.
Yep.
And I know on Meta, like the move is just go with an open audience. Facebook kind of knows who's in market and just let it run. And it'll continually get a little bit better, but don't touch it. And as marketers, we want to get in and tinker with stuff. But as like a provider, if we can, what happened to my camera? Did I just go blurry on yours?
You did.
Great. I'll switch cameras for now. There we go. Are we a technology company or what?
I mean, things happen every time.
Yeah. Yeah. I've tried like setting up my old phone as the camera. What we're talking about is like what I was trying to talk about is just like the creative doing just the carousel ads versus coming up with something that's a little bit more impactful and something
Yep.
that's a little bit more personalized for the consumer, for the car buyer. What types of creative are you seeing that's working well in auto right now?
Yes. So to your point, we do love the always on inventory syndication. We do think that is going to be like your base strategy across platforms. And we understand why, right? Like it's incredibly powerful. It's easy to attribute sales right back to that specific ad because it's VIN based. But there is massive opportunity beyond that. And so that's where we encourage our dealers and partners to build up that funnel. So starting at the awareness phase, we like to see the why buy messaging from our dealers. We love to see testimonials, right? Like I think it's really important to have that personal touch as to why should I come to your dealership, right? Like what can I expect from you? Like who are your people? Are you making your customers happy, right? Like that's a dealer's job and they do such a great job doing that they need to highlight those stories for consumers that are going to be in market. And then in addition, there's a massive opportunity to be a little bit more customized with your messaging, to kind of give a personalized ad experience to a consumer based on who they are and what they're looking for. So on Pinterest, like our bread and butter are affluent women, typically kind of that middle-aged millennial mom, people love to say. So these are women who are looking for higher end SUVs, vehicles that can fit their family, and even pickup trucks, which people sometimes doubt us on, but we have the data to back it up. So if you can tie those types of vehicles to your audience, we tend to see much stronger, click-through rates and engagement metrics, because you're delivering a message that actually matches what that consumer wants. And Pinterest has a ton of data to help inform who your audience is and what they're looking for. And so we can kind of guide that process together with your agency partner.
And you're talking about, one thing that's helping to get like good creative from dealers is we would make it in-house, but it's not as good as if I can give the dealer and empower the dealership. We'll send them a lapel mic, a QR code for how to make a hook and how to make a story, and we'll do all the editing, and it performs so much better than if I'm just running inventory ads.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good move from the advertiser side to really get out and let dealers know what's working well. Do this, don't do this. Find somebody that can get on camera, shoot vertically, use this lapel mic, and you're 98% of the way there.
Absolutely. And even very simple things that I think folks in the automotive industry forget is that people are not buying vehicles that often, right? I think it's every 10 years, people typically are in market for a new vehicle. So even like simple features, like a hand-free liftgate on the back of a vehicle, showcasing putting a stroller in the back of that SUV or minivan, just like something super simple, cut it down to a 6 or 15-second video and showcasing that and matching that to your parent audience. That's actually very helpful, right? Because they want to see, how is this vehicle going to enhance and enable my life?
Yeah. And Allison, like what you're talking about too, it's not necessarily something that needs to be unique for Pinterest. If they shoot that content, that can really be repurposed across a number of different channels.
Absolutely.
From even YouTube pre-roll, if it's that short thing that has the, a hook right at the beginning to get people to keep paying attention. And you're talking about pairing inventory with audiences. Can you talk a little bit about uploading databases and life events and what kind of makes Pinterest unique for audience targeting, and if you use open audiences for collection or for inventory ads?
Sure. So for inventory specifically, obviously a core audience that we're going to recommend you go after is just like standard dynamic retargeting, right? But Pinterest has a ton of audience levers that you can pull based on what type of inventory you're trying to move. So when a dealer uploads their inventory into Pinterest, they can segment it into product groups. That's the technical term within our UI. And so you can have an SUV product group, truck, what have you, segment any which way you like. And then you can really tailor the targeting to match that product group, right? So if we're trying to push pickup trucks, maybe we're looking for a more male-focused audience, perhaps a DIYer, someone who is into sports content, or even finance content, because all of those topics really over-index with the truck buyer on Pinterest. And so we can showcase to our dealers and to our audience or agency partners how to pull those audience insights within their ads manager account and get very granular and prescriptive with those targeting levers. But in addition, we don't want to over-engineer things, right? So we take it on kind of a case-by-case basis, depending on how sophisticated the dealer and the partner want to go. If they want more of a set it and forget it, we do have our Performance Plus solution, which is very similar to what other partners in the ecosystem offer in terms of just like campaign automation, right? We will find the person most likely to take action on this ad for you. you don't have to set all of those targeting parameters. So there's a great balance that you can strike depending on what your campaign goals are.
Okay. And so it sounds like you can get really granular with the audiences, and then like even like the catalogs too, we can get pretty granular besides just like the model or the is it truck, SUV, sedan, but like let's do vehicles under $20,000. Let's do certified pre-owned vehicles and talk about the reconditioning of the vehicles that they do to make them certified and what the value of a certified pre-owned vehicle is. So I'm finding it to be more and more fun to get little, think about the audience and keep messing with audiences a little bit, but also like really like get that catalog of inventory really relevant.
Absolutely. And I think as we see the auto buyer kind of shift with this new generation of buyers, up and coming, it is really important to be a little bit more like price conscious for them, because the average cost of a new vehicle is so high. The average first-time car buyer can't afford a $50,000 vehicle. So what does the dealer have that kind of fills that void for that, younger first-time car buyer? And we're actually kind of aging down as a platform. So as I mentioned earlier, our core audience has historically been affluent millennial women, but we are seeing our platform age down to Gen Z, which is going to kind of fill that gap for those first-time car buyers, which is a great opportunity, again, for dealers to get in front of someone who's never purchased a vehicle before, educate them on what that process could look like, and ensure that they're giving them vehicle options that they can actually afford.
Yeah. And like it makes me think about like one of my favorite things about Pinterest. And I imagine you've noticed this, but when you get on Pinterest and you spend however many minutes on there and then you get off, you feel a little bit better.
Yes.
You don't feel agonized about any geopolitics or any political slants. And it's just like stuff that's interesting to me, that's tangible, that I think you guys own that spot, and I hope it stays like that forever.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about the Healy Brothers case study? Is that what you talked about at NADA?
So we talked about the first Healy Brothers case study at our last conference. Yes. We just actually published a new one. So to give some context, the first story came out 2021 timeframe. Healy Brothers is a pioneering automotive group in upstate New York who's been a great partner to us. And they did some beta testing with us when we first brought inventory ads onto the platform. So we were able to prove out a very strong cost per vehicle sold, and make some optimizations and report out on that during 2021, 2022. But since then, they have continued to be a very invested, loyal partner with us. And so we just recently revisited their performance on the platform to see what we have seen over time. And we are thrilled to report that we looked at 2025 data, year over year, 2024 data, and we were able to drive a 27% higher number of vehicle sales in 25 versus 24 at a 40% lower cost per vehicle sold. So incredible amount of volume we're able to drive for them at a very efficient cost per vehicle sold, which is just thrilling, right? Like that's our job, is to become more performant and a stronger partner to all of our dealers. And we were thrilled to be able to prove that and publish that out into the world.
Yeah, and it's fun too to have just like a dealer group that's invested, that's bought in, that you have some autonomy of like, hey, we're going to try out something new.
Yes.
That I want you to be the first to try it in not only your market, but in the world. And I think it's going to work well. We'll know pretty quickly. And yes, it's getting some results. Let's step on the gas. Let's keep a close lens on this stuff. We've got a few dealers that are fun for us to be able to test out new things with.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives them competitive advantage in their market, right? Because they're already learning what works, what doesn't, and ahead of their peers. So it's a win-win for all of us.
Yeah. And you get a lot of attention on it from just like the platform side, from the agency side, the staff, and then hopefully the prospective buyers. are getting to pay attention to it. So we're working with you. We're rolling out more dealerships right now and getting better with the creative use and with the tracking and setting up all the on-site tracking. Like when you're talking with a new ad agency serving dealers, what is kind of something that you're asking from them, or something that you're suggesting that they start with just to get some traction?
Absolutely. So when we're onboarding a new partner, the first step is always making sure like we get the Pinterest tag placed on dealer sites, right? That is necessary to ensure that we have, the minimum amount of measurement in place. Plus it's an unlock for certain campaign types like conversions and shopping campaigns. So that needs to be like the base layer from a measurement perspective. But from there, we always love to see partners that have more robust systems of measurement beyond that, because we have found that agency partners that do have access to dealer sales and upload it on a regular cadence, or have in-house measurement solutions, like perhaps like a proprietary MMM model, we have found that Pinterest outperforms our peers in many of those measurement solutions. Right? We typically do not outperform Meta when it comes to GA, right? Last click attribution models. Google's going to beat us in. Meta's going to beat us in. Meta's always going to drive more volume than Pinterest. Like that's where they win. But Pinterest wins when you look under the hood and you dive in a little bit deeper. And that's because, again, our audience is different. It's a high intent audience that is very affluent and is actually purchasing new vehicles. So we may not drive the same amount of leads as peer platforms, but our leads are more powerful and they convert at higher rates.
It's a short conversation to have with a dealer, but it's a nuanced one. Yes. For like an account manager and for a salesperson to be able to talk about, that last click attribution versus that story of the customer journey. And if we want to look at the last click attribution and where most things come from, it's going to be like Google Maps or Apple Maps of people figuring out how to drive to the dealership. And that's kind of the last click they took. So should we put all of our efforts into maps? Of course not, and there's a company we partner with called Clarivoy. Mm-hmm. Have you come across Clarivoy?
Yes.
That helps spell out the customer journey. That really has some good ability to highlight Pinterest along that journey and the impact that Pinterest does. So that's something like we've rolled out with all of our dealerships now, and we can grow bigger retargeting audiences. They'll be at the Dealer Profitability Summit if you haven't met them before.
So I actually joined Steve White on a podcast on a yacht at Digital Dealer Tampa several years ago. But it was before we actually had a partnership together. So it was like kind of new information for both of us. But now many of our agency partners do partner with them. So we're getting more access to their data, which is thrilling to see. And so I can't wait to reconnect with them.
Okay, good. Yeah. April 16th and 17th in Austin. If any dealers are listening that want to go, we still have like 11 tickets left. Okay, let's say that you're a dealership, you work at a dealership, you've got maybe a couple $1,000s to test out Pinterest. Where would you start?
Yes, I would start with our tried and true full funnel strategy. So I would take about 50% of my budget and I would put it towards that shopping inventory syndication play, right? Just get my inventory on there, set it, forget it, let that run. And then I would build up the funnel from there, right? So I would put 15 to 20% against that mid funnel, marketing our different offers and incentives for the month. And then I would take that remaining percentage and put it against awareness, with kind of a broader reach, looking to ensure that folks in my geo are aware of my store. They understand what differentiates us from the other dealership down the road, and really giving them reason to come by and see us.
Okay. That's a step I think that dealers can take, and especially agencies can take to help. And it's again, it's like being on the platform with not a lot of noise, being in front of the decision makers, being in front of people during their life events is powerful for dealers. And we've tried to do it on other platforms, but there's such an indicator of life events on Pinterest that
Yes.
nobody else can like share that signal.
Yes. And beyond that, dealers should be on every platform available to them, right? They should absolutely take advantage of all the players in the space. But if they're not on Pinterest, they're missing out on an incremental reach opportunity. And so I think that's something that they don't always understand. It averages out to about 30% of Pinterest users aren't using Meta platforms or TikTok or Snap or what have you. So if you are not on Pinterest, you're losing out on market reach. So sometimes that little nugget of information can help move the needle for them, because we know dealers want to be in front of every possible consumer within their geo.
Yeah. And they want to do stuff that their competition's not doing. And they want to be the first in market to be doing something that nobody else is doing. Well, what would you say for an agency or, even a dealership? What's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah. Reach out to us at dealerteam@pinterest.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I get lots of messages there and I'm very responsive. So Allison McConoghy, but happy to help support. We have a dedicated tier 3 team who is invested in growing these agency level partnerships as well as with dealers directly. So you will reach us. We don't put you into a queue. You reach real people. We'll get on the phone with you, get on Zoom, talk through any challenges or help bring you up to speed on, the nuances of our platform versus others. We're really here to support and help ensure success for all of our partners.
That is amazing. Allison McConaughey, I can't thank you enough for your time, and I look forward to getting together with you when you get in Austin.
I can't wait. Looking forward to it.
Thanks.